Welcome back, all you beautiful bulletproof handymen and women, to the Bulletproof Handyman Business YouTube channel. I have the distinct privilege today of having my favorite YouTube handyman on, Mr. Daryl, also known as the Finisher. Welcome in, Daryl.
Hey, I'm glad to be here, Ray. It's been a long
Yeah,
time coming. I've been
yeah,
I've
it
been a
has.
fan I've been a fan of yours for a long time, so I
Oh, I
appreciate you
appreciate
having
that.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing you popping into the live streams.
I'm in them. There's a lot of times where, I just don't get a chance to comment, but I'm still
Oh,
around.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right on.
Mhm.
So I think most of my people probably already know of you. You can't really be watching Handyman on YouTube without knowing of Daryl the Finisher. But just in case, can you just give us some background as to who you are, how you got into the trades, what you love in life, what you don't? Tell us about Daryl.
Well, okay, where do I start? Um, I have been doing I've been in business now for it's been 6 yeah, been 6 years, going on 7 years. Um, I've been full time. And I'm one of those people that started because I was running into a whole lot of problems, as far as pay. I had a lot of jobs. I tell people all
Mm.
the time I've had over 20 jobs in my past, and some of them I had for a long time. I mean, my last job, I was there for 14 years. So, there's a lot going on as far as work history. But I'd always planned on doing something. So I got into this business. It was a plan. It was actually a plan, but I just didn't know what direction I was going to take it. So
Yeah.
I've been planning for years, but I'm a family man. I've been married for 21 years now. I got
Ah,
married
good
young.
on you, man. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
There's nothing better in the world than just having a committed partner and raising a family.
Well, and that's the thing. We've been boosting each other up, So yeah, I have 5 kids, all
Cool.
girls, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
I got them
I
from
don't know what to do. I'm gonna have a girl someday, I bet, and I don't know what I'm gonna do.
yeah, I got them from 23 to 15 or 14.
Yeah. Oh,
So me and
wow.
my youngest. So basically 3 in college and 2 in high school. So yeah, it's been a interesting ride. So I got into this business as I needed a way to earn more income. And when I was younger, I didn't really have access to different businesses, or I didn't really know what direction to go in. I tried
Yeah.
to get jobs. It was a little difficult to get construction jobs, so I was all over the place. And all the different journeys and everything, it just led me here. Led me here. I
That's cool.
sometimes, I'm a believer, man, in some sort of divine intervention, because I feel like there were times where I probably should have been doing this a long time ago,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'd ignored the signs, and just, whatever,
Similar to you, I feel like I should have been doing this the right way a long time ago. I've done this twice before. I've failed at a handyman business twice in the past. And I have to admit I wasn't really trying. Like looking back in hindsight, I was a chuck with a truck twice in the past. I was a guy who just needed some money, didn't want to work for the boss that I had at that particular point in time, and had an idea that I'm just going to be a handyman. If I can just get me like 25 bucks an hour, I'll be good to go. Didn't think about marketing, didn't think about branding, didn't think about even who my clients were. My clients were just whoever kind of happened upon my path,
yeah, yeah,
and ultimately, shut all of the both of those previous ones down. And what I always say, go back to Bombardier, because that's the aviation company I've worked for here in Tucson 3 different times now. And it's kind of like
really,
everybody hates it there, everybody leaves, and everybody always comes back. But
yeah.
finally, this time I didn't have to go back. So how was it? What was it like entering the handyman world? Because I would assume, hopefully similar to me, you probably didn't really know what you were doing at first.
Ah,
Was it
man,
a steep learning curve?
I had no idea, no idea.
Yeah.
So I started out, but I did know that, I am a person that just does a lot of studying, right?
Mhm.
So I did take a look at the layout of with the lay of the land, and I saw other companies in my area and saw how they were operating. Then I noticed that none of them really had a website or a web online presence. Just not really much. So I was like, okay, well, the fastest way for me to get in is probably going to be to have all the online stuff taken care of. So when I started, I had a website, I had the phone line set up, I had um I had to use services though. I didn't start out because just like anybody else, I did go around putting cards in mailboxes and flyers and things of that nature, but it didn't result in much of anything. So I had to
Yeah.
resort to, I did Yelp and Home Advisor. But at the time, I'm not gonna lie to you, Home Advisor gave me a deal I couldn't refuse. So
Mhm.
I went with Home Advisor. I think they really needed people in my area. So they gave me
Yeah.
a ridiculous deal. So I don't have some of the war stories that other people have with some of those online marketplaces or
Yeah, like Angie's List and all
yeah.
that, all the lead gen sites.
Yeah. I do have the war stories later because they switched up. they
Yeah, yeah.
they did end up switching up later, just like everybody, all of them. But when I started, they offered me it was what was it, $100 a month, or no, it was either $49 or $100 a month for unlimited leads, unlimited handyman leads,
Nice.
which was basically at the time where they just threw anything that didn't fit into a category of any other kind, they threw it into the handyman leads.
All right on.
Sometimes it would be somebody call me because they wanted to restore a piece of furniture, and I was like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
But then other times it would just be because, well, they wanted somebody to do drywall and to paint and to do the floors, and that didn't fall under any specific category. So I got lucky and got a whole project because it was just somebody looking for something. So, but I got all kind of it was a lot of ups and downs. I got commercial jobs. I was a sub. I did your specialty. I worked with a couple of property managers, real estate agents. I mean, anything you could think of, I tried it.
Yeah, that's cool. Oh, yeah. Can you tell me about just your general business model in terms of who your clients, generally speaking, are, or at least who you want them to be, and whether you prefer more of the smaller jobs or the bigger jobs? Just give us an overview of how you run your business.
Well, generally, I like to do medium-sized jobs. So, like I did the deck project, but like I said, that the deck project was only for this customer, a specific customer, because I'd been with them for so long that
Yeah.
and they're willing to work with my schedule because the deck project took months. But the reason why was because I had other jobs scheduled. So they
Yeah.
had to be okay with me starting for a week, and then I got something else to do, and then coming
Hmm.
back. And so, and they were okay with that. They didn't care as long as I did it. So,
Yeah.
um, most of the time I like jobs that are medium size. I do the small jobs if it's something I just can't pass up. Something so simple. I had somebody call me the other week, just a previous customer called me because they tried to change the light bulb outside and a light fixture, and they turned something and the whole fixture came down. So they had to,
Yeah.
it's just a couple screws. You go up there and
Yeah.
yeah, I can't refuse that.
Yeah.
So
That's the
yeah,
easy money.
it is. It is. So I don't mind doing the small jobs. My issue is if I try to fill my schedule with a bunch of small jobs, it just gets to be too much to
Yeah.
try to like manage all the destinations and all the just
Yeah.
it's a lot when you're doing it full time. So
Yeah.
what I
Over here
found
on the property management side, where it's mostly small jobs, I can easily say hands down that is the number one challenge. Like that's the number one skill that if you can get it mastered, and you never really can. It never works out perfectly, but the better you get at it, that's the revenue generating
oh yeah,
side over here is like you don't get the scheduling down, you don't figure out how to manage like 30 to 60 jobs at a time that are all
yeah.
getting juggled and scheduled. If you don't figure that out, I mean, granted, it's not a bad thing to say you're going to make 300 a day. There's nothing wrong with 2 or 300 a day. But then when you do get that down, you can turn that 2 or 300 a day into 6 or 800 a day pretty easily.
Oh no, definitely. Like one thing I used to do a lot of is appliance repair. That's one where I mean, I know guys now that have plenty of appliance repair businesses, their own whole business in appliance repair. Um, but for me, it was just things. It was too different from other things. So it'd be like essentially one of the big things I learned over time is that I can't do it everything because then I can't carry all the tools for everything at all times.
Hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes I'd be on a project, and then somebody needs the refrigerator worked on. Then it'd be hard for me to, okay, well, I'm gonna leave early today to go do this refrigerator. It might not always work out that way, or they'd be, it's just two totally different kind of business
Yeah.
model.
Yeah, you
So
have to know your model
yeah.
and
So
stick to it.
eventually it ended up where I like small projects or medium-sized projects. Um, I don't really care what it is. It's, it could be, whether it's from flooring to, I used to do a lot of deck repairs, painting, carpentry work. It really doesn't matter what it is, but as long as it's, 3 days, maybe 4 at the max, something like
Yeah.
that. So I average 2 to 3 jobs a week. So I don't do a whole lot of extra work unless it's for people that previous customers. Then I suck it up. They call me, they have a leak under the sink. I feel like they trust me enough to call me. I'll go ahead and take care of it. That's not a problem.
Yeah, that's cool.
Mhm.
Here's just a random question for you.
Mhm.
Truck, trailer, or van?
If I could, I'd rather have a van, like I said, like one of those Amazon style vans or
Mhm.
something like that. The
Like
Ford
one of those
Transit.
high top, like Ford Transits or something?
Yeah, yeah. If I get one of those or the Ram or even a Sprinter, I
Yep, Sprinters are great.
yeah, I would love one of those. It's just not in the budget yet.
Yeah,
So, but it'll come eventually. Right now, I have a
yeah.
truck and a trailer.
Okay.
The issue I run into though is that the truck with that trailer on it, that gas, it just disappears. It's just
Yeah.
so I'll
Yeah, I'll
drive.
bet.
Now, luckily, most of my work here lately has been within literally a 5-mile radius. But
Mhm.
when I used to work, 20, 30 minutes away, I mean, the trailer would just eat gas. And then I'd run into issues where new developments are not making the roads wide enough.
Yeah,
So they're basically making the roads wide enough where 2 cars can pass.
yeah.
So you
But
have
with
one.
everybody parking on the side of the road, that really just leaves you one lane down the center.
Yeah. So you end up having nowhere to park, or they're
Yeah,
building more townhouses, more and more townhouses. So I go out there, there's nowhere to park with a trailer, or I
yeah,
had to maybe be down the street, unless I'm
yeah, you
lucky
gotta
enough.
park on the other end of the complex or something, and then you gotta box up and bag up all your tools and walk all the way through all the sidewalks and then up the stairs to the 3rd floor and then realize that you need a razor knife and you gotta go all the way back to the van or to the truck
Mhm.
or to the trailer a block away again.
Yeah, yeah. That look, I learned my lesson where jobs like that, I mean, I have to charge. I just have to charge more.
Yep,
I have
yep,
to,
that's how you do
I
it.
have to because I learned a lesson just like you said. After you go up all them stairs and you like, or somebody wants to. I've had people that want a bathroom remodeled or something, and it's like, okay, well, this is like it's 3 stories up essentially in the
Mhm.
townhouse. I have to account for that.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
you're gonna make 100 or 200 trips up and down those stairs to
and
remodel an entire bathroom.
I tell people I might not look like it. I might not look like it, but I go up and down them stairs all day.
Yeah, well,
So,
you can't be doing what you're doing and not be healthy, you know what I mean? Like, you can't
yeah,
even get by and make the job happen if you're not healthy.
yeah, yeah. So I'm up and down, up and down, up and down. So yeah, yeah, I take that into account. But so right now it's truck and a trailer. And even the reason why I went trailer was because when I started, I just had the truck.
Mhm.
So I was the guy out there. Was I chucking the truck? I wasn't, no, because I had the LLC. I was a business, but
Yeah.
I did have I was the guy that'd be at Lowe's getting drywall. Then I had to wrap it in plastic in the parking lot so I could put it in the back of the truck because it's raining.
Yeah.
And I didn't have,
Yeah.
or
Yep.
there was a lot of times I'd go to a job, I'd take all my tools, drop them off, then I had to go back to get
Mhm.
the wood or the plywood or whatever
Yep.
and bring that, and then maybe go back and get some more wood, and then it was just something I was accustomed to. So when I got the trailer, it was like, oh, now I can have all the tools. I can have drywall, just put it in the trailer. It was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's
And now I'm
awesome.
like, I try not even if I don't have to take it, I don't even take it. If I try to unhook it
Yeah.
as much as possible.
I don't know if you had this experience. It seems like you might have. When I first started, I started out in a truck too, my old '72 Chevy.
Mhm.
and I went and found like the cheapest. It was like $100 beat up old cab to put over the back of it, just like a little, like a cap, a camper topper,
Oh, yeah.
put that over the back of it, and I filled that thing up to the top. I
Yeah.
brought table saws, I brought multiple versions of every kind of tool, full size air compressor, tons of air hose. I had like a big bin. There was just nothing but 3/4 inch PVC pieces,
Mhm.
like filled all the way to the top. Another big bin that was like electrical boxes and wire and 1,000 different types of electrical boxes and just all kinds of random electrical stuff filled to the top. And I brought like my entire shop with me all day, every day. But one of
Yeah.
the things I quickly figured out was that you need to figure out what you use a lot and what you don't use a lot. And then you need to get good at predicting in advance what types of tools you're likely to need based on what the job's going to be, and not be trying to bring your entire shop with you all day every day, which maybe for you might be a little different because you do have a trailer. That's the upside of the trailer, is you can kind of put more in there without it bogging you down. But I had to quickly learn to just to just start lightening up and figuring out how to be faster and lighter.
Yeah. Well, no, the trailer works out great because it's with me, most of the houses I do work on now, I got plenty of space. So I have space to park it. They're mostly single family homes. I have a place to put it. So it's not as much of an issue as it was before. Or when I was doing a lot of like having a lot of new incoming customers, then that's when, like I said, I'm going to the townhouses and it's so difficult to park it.
Hmm.
And then, like you said, a lot of times it's overkill, because you got this trailer attached, but I'm just going to install a over the range microwave. It's just I don't need
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need a miter saw and a table saw. Just the same way.
Yeah.
Or I got ladders and all kind of extra stuff in there. So um now I don't have a cab on the back, so I end up with my back seat of my truck ends up
Mhm.
with
Just
I have like tool
stacked.
bags and all kind of stuff. And then I have learned over the years that the I don't know, I can survey a job pretty well and predetermine what I need,
Hmm.
before I ever go. So if I'm doing a door install, then I kind of have bags the same way you have your bag set up for
Yeah.
different kinds of jobs.
Yeah.
I have
Like my
something,
kids.
yeah, like your kits. I have something
Mhm.
similar. I don't have as many because mine are mostly for like I have a if I'm doing plumbing work, I just take the plumbing
Mhm.
toolbox with me, and
Yeah.
it has all the little pieces in it. Or I said I got one for electrical. I have actually one for doors. It's just
Mhm.
specifically for doors and
Just for doors. Yeah.
yeah, with all the little contraptions that you need, router bits and everything else. Um, but for the most part, if I don't need a saw and I don't need drywall, I can normally get away with not taking the trailer as long as the material's on site.
Yeah. That's
I don't
cool.
I don't really need the whole trailer. So yeah, I've learned to work around it.
You know what else I've given thought to? I don't know if you ever have, because I've always said truck, trailer, or van. Like that's a common, discussion within our community.
Oh
Something
yeah.
we don't talk about much that I've thought about, because I actually built and ran a food truck for a couple years once, is just taking a big old box truck, like a U-Haul van sized truck, and turning it into like a rolling shop. I mean, a full rolling shop. Cabinets, chop saw mounted right up there on the
Yeah.
cabinets, lighting up above, just onboard generator, maybe even like a little bathroom or even a little desk in the corner for an office. Have you ever seen anything like that?
Not in a box truck. Not in a box truck.
Yeah.
I've seen people do that in trailers.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
you can
know.
do it in a trailer. And the thing I don't like about the trailers is similar to what you've mentioned. Like when you're going into little condos and stuff, there'll just be nowhere to park.
No.
As opposed to like a box truck, I think at least some of those times you're gonna be able to at least find a spot that you can pull in like a 12-foot box truck.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But that's the kind of we used to use those small box trucks when I was an insulator, and they
Mhm.
they fit everywhere. So they're good.
So before your handyman business, were you mostly in the trades?
No. No, okay, so
No? Just sometimes, but you did everything, huh?
I did a little bit of everything. The trade work came in early. So I was an insulator early, but I didn't really do a lot of work in the trades. So
Mm,
after doing the insulation though, I learned a lot, and then I did stuff on my own, just as far as, at my own house or other people's houses, stuff like that.
yeah,
But I didn't really have a job besides being an insulator. I didn't have a job doing any of the work that I do. It was just
yeah,
something that over time I learned, but I'll tell anybody that I have a problem. It's a I don't know. I think there's a lot of traits that are it's a gift and a curse to everything, right?
mm,
One of my traits is that I am I get a one-track mind. And once I get
mm,
on something, I can't let it go.
yeah,
Everybody be tired of it. My wife will be tired of it. Everybody will be tired of me talking about it.
yeah, yeah.
I can't focus on anything else except
I
that
think
thing.
we have that in common.
Yeah.
Do you typically dive way too deep? Well, let's not use the word too deep. We'll just say,
What does that
do
mean?
you typically dive deep and fast
Mhm.
and just sort of absorb everything you can absorb with whatever the new special interest is until you kind of get to the point where you feel like you've got a handle on it, at which point the next unknown thing that you realize that you don't know anything about and sounds interesting comes along, and then you've got to dive into that too? Or is that just me?
It's not just you. It's definitely me. I always say that whatever my hobby is I don't really have hobbies like some people might like playing basketball or something like that.
Mm,
My hobbies tend to be whatever it is that I'm doing at the moment. So
yeah.
when I started the business, it was not just a business, it was also my hobby. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was hard work. I enjoyed it.
Hmm.
And it was just, I was, man, reading as much as I can, like just trying different things. I've told people before, I don't have any formal training in like in carpentry, anything like that. But what I did is that I would get I said I wanted to learn how to do some finished carpentry because I like to
Hmm.
do some crown and stuff like that. So I would go and get broken pieces of crown from you could used to be able to go get broken pieces from Lowe's and stuff. They'd sell them for like $1 instead of
Yeah.
like $26 for one piece of crown. And I just take them home and practice cutting, practice cutting miters, just
Yeah.
practice cutting them. And I just learned how to do it like that. So by the time I got the first job, I don't know how much time I spent just perfecting those cuts.
Yeah.
Even, to the point where I was early on making videos about crown and stuff like, but back when I first started doing this channel, because I was doing crown all the time, but it was all self-taught.
Yeah.
But I would just
Yeah.
deep dive into it. So yeah, it became my hobby for a little
I
while.
kind of got that feeling about you. I watched one of your videos, and I apologize, can't remember the exact title, but it was something like, "Is the handyman like the modern day thinking man or
Oh
Renaissance man
yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah.
to that effect?" And I
But,
was watching
Randy,
that one, and just other stuff you've said. I could kind of tell that you're a little bit. And they say that that's actually a trait for people who are on the autism scale, Asperger's and all that, somewhere on that scale, where like if you're high on the scale, then you get a special interest, and it's your special interest for your life. Like you're the ceiling fan man when you're 12 years old, and you know everything about ceiling fans and the
yeah,
history of ceiling fans. By the time you're like 60, you're the world expert in ceiling fans.
yeah,
And I've always felt like I was on that scale, just further down here, where it doesn't like drag me in and hold me for decades. It's just able to hold me for months at a time.
yeah.
And not that I ever let any of them go. I still love all of my hobbies and all of my passions and whatnot. Uh, but I am able to sort of like move on with life, though.
Yeah, no, we're definitely kindred spirits when it comes to that because
That's cool.
yeah, yeah. No, I am the type that, like I said, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. There was a time I was in the video games, and it was just it wasn't a long span. It was probably a year and a
Yeah.
half, and that's what I was doing. I was deep diving. I was
That's
watching YouTube
scary.
videos on how to make these moves and do this and that. Like I was going to be in a tournament or something,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
next thing you know, I'm off to the next thing. I told
And
I
you probably could have been had you just, if you'd have really wanted to. You're probably the type that if you'd have just put another year and a half in, you probably could have been at all the tournaments.
well, I'm really interested. I used to be really interested in the idea of the Renaissance man. That was the whole what they used to call with the polymath. The
Mhm.
just the
Yeah.
that person who's
Thomas Jefferson.
Thomas Jefferson or Da Vinci, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
people like that that were just well rounded, but they were interested in learning. It wasn't just one thing;
Yeah.
it was
Just
just multiple
anything and
things.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a thirst
I
for knowledge.
yes. So I knew already that my last job that I worked for 14 years was with the state. So I worked for the
Mm.
state, and it's one of those places where people go and they never leave.
Yeah.
Because they just, when you get there, you buy into having a pension, and you
Mhm.
just like it's a state job. You can't leave. Who leaves a state job? It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yep.
And I went in with the mentality like I'm not going to be one of them people because I can't. There's no way. Like
Mhm.
I'm not built like that to just stay somewhere for a long time. I did stay there for 14 years, but it was more so because of the benefits and the like, state. You get a lot of holidays, a lot of time, like vacation time and sick
Oh,
time and all
yeah.
this. So, and I had my kids were small. So it that job did allow me, it didn't pay much. It didn't pay much at
Yeah.
all. But it did allow me to go to all the school functions and get all the games. I'd take them to school. I'd be able to pick them up after school. I mean, it allowed me to do
Yeah. And
everything with
that's
kids.
priceless, man. That is absolutely priceless to get to do that.
Yeah, yeah, all the field trips, and my wife's a teacher. Well, she was a teacher. She's a administrator now. But yeah, it was like so she couldn't really do a whole lot because her job didn't give her. They got the summers off,
Yeah.
so during the school year they can't really take off too much. So yeah, it allowed me to just do everything, and so that's why I stayed there as long as I did. But there was always something nagging me, like, man, you can't. Okay, you're at year 14. You're getting close to 25.
Yeah.
You gotta make your promise and do something. And
Yeah.
then also I was calculating those pension numbers, and I was like, I'm gonna be one of these guys. One of the guys I used to work with at Lowe's that was in their 60s that they used to tell
Mhm.
me that they retired, that they planned a retirement but just not enough. Maybe they just didn't plan for that much inflation or whatever it was,
Yeah.
but they they had a retirement, but they had to work maybe 2 days a week.
Mm.
And I was like, I don't want to do that. Not that I don't want to
Yep.
work 2 days, but I don't want to have to go to work at Lowe's
You
or
don't you don't wanna be in retirement phase and have no choice but to work 2 days a week.
yep, yep. The saddest thing I think I ever saw, man. I told you I had a lot of jobs. I was working at Amazon. I was at the warehouse uh, as an Amazon warehouse guy, and it was during orientation, man. And there was a lady. She had to be in her 60s, starting with orientation, and I was looking at her like, "There's no way that she's gonna
Yeah.
make it." It's
Yeah.
just you're standing on your feet for 12 hours. It's
Mhm.
just no way she's gonna make it. I barely made it at that time. And I was like 37.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's about 3 days later, she was gone, man. And I felt like, man, I just can't.
Yeah, you feel bad.
You feel bad, but I also thought about my own mortality. Like I can't be that
Yeah.
person, So I was
Yeah.
just like I was determined to find something. When I started this business, I was just gonna. It was basically just flooring, so I wasn't really. It was I called it handyman, and I called it assembly and installations or assembly and something. And that's what I was going to do: flooring and do assembly, like furniture assembly, things of that nature. So it just,
Yeah.
but it grew and molded itself into. I just let it go. Lazy River. I just
Yeah.
let it go wherever it took me. Like I told you, I tried different things. Like you're. I think I tell everybody that hey, if you want to do property managers, you got to go see Ray, right? And I agree. I totally agree with everything as far as like I think property managers are the especially if you're just starting out, it's the best way to go because like you always say, it's just be a funnel of jobs. I
Yeah, it's
just
just nonstop work, just a bottomless well of work.
yeah, yeah. The issue for me was I just if you run into a bad one, as
Oh, yeah.
or even if it's not a bad one, it's just the process. I wasn't ready for the process at the time, which was the I finished up the first off, I when I started the first job I did with a property manager, I did what was it? Oh, I didn't realize that all the materials that I was buying the materials up front. And they actually gave me a deposit. 'Cause I did
Mm.
request a deposit, but it didn't cover everything because they needed the new vanity, like all kind of stuff. And I
Yeah.
just didn't calculate that I was gonna be buying it. So after I bought everything and then submitted the invoice, then the guy was like, all right, well, they sometimes they like to pay on the first when they get the checks or when they get the rent
When they
money.
get the rent, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, all right, well, you didn't tell me that, when I first started.
Yeah.
So I went out and bought all this stuff. I didn't have any money. And I had my
Mm.
mortgage was due.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I'm sitting there like, okay. So then that kind of turned me off. So I didn't give it a chance because I
Mhm.
had that one situation and it just at the wrong time. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of things I did commercial work and it was the same thing where I was doing Walgreens. I was basically the guy in my area for Walgreens work.
Oh,
And
nice.
there's a Walgreens everywhere. Like you don't
Mm.
realize it until they start sending you work orders. There's a
Yeah. That
million
there's one
Walgreens
on every corner, yeah.
every corner, and I'm in a little tiny state of Delaware.
Mm.
So, but there's Walgreens everywhere, and I was doing so many, and then I don't know, we ran into an issue with invoicing because it's like they weren't getting my invoices or something. They
Mhm.
so we got had a big issue. I had like 15 work orders done, and I hadn't gotten paid. And it was like, okay. The next thing I know, they were like, "Okay, well, we're in net 60." And I was like, "Oh, okay,
Oh,
this is
60.
wonderful. 60, net 60." So I did a bunch of work. It was like November. I didn't get paid until was it February or
Man.
March? Something like that.
Yeah.
And that kinda turned me away from, commercial, even though I did get all the money. It's not they did not pay me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and now if I was to do it now, it'd be okay because I got a little bit of a war chest where I could handle, a few months.
Yeah.
But at the
Yeah.
time, I didn't have that, so I just warn people to just if you're gonna do it, just make sure you know what you're getting into. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think your method I mean, it's foolproof. It's bulletproof. It is what it
That's
is.
that's what it's intended to be, is just, and of course, like, people say, "Nothing's bulletproof," and I say, "Well, I mean, literally, by the definition of bulletproof, it is. When you buy bulletproof anything, it doesn't mean indestructible. It doesn't mean immortal. It
Mhm.
simply means it can take X number of hits from X number of foot-pounds of energy of different caliber bullets at different speeds. Like, I've bought body armor myself when I went to Afghanistan, and you literally pick body armor based. There's levels. You can get a level that's gonna it'll stop some 9 mil rounds and not much more. You can get a level that's gonna stop, some like deer rifle sized rounds, and you can get a level that's up above that. But that was kind of the idea for me, was that if I could just get myself in a position where the work flowed in nonstop all the time,
Oh, yeah.
year round. Like, we have a tiny slowdown literally just from Thanksgiving to New Year's. Like, just that one little teeny tiny, month and a half at most.
Mhm.
Tiny little slowdown. And that's because people just don't want the handyman coming over because they're busy and they're going to be out of town or whatever.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
But
your house full of
outside of
people.
that, like,
Yeah.
we don't have there's no roller coaster over here, you know what I mean? It's just the exact same. If that toilet breaks and it's a rental, nobody has the option of saying, "Well, you just turn the valve off and use the other toilet." If it's a rental, they legally must fix it. But like you were saying with a commercial though, what I think people miss sometimes is, like, is a net 60, which even my reaction was like, "Ah, god
Yeah.
dang, like, that's rough." But then you go, "Oh yeah, how many people can afford to wait 60 days? Not
Yeah.
many people, which means you have less competition, which means you can charge more money." And that's kind of what I did with the property management, was I said, "Okay, wait a minute. I can charge more money. I have to wait 30 days to get paid, but I can charge at the time it wasn't maybe quite twice as much, but it was significantly more than what I was charging homeowners." And I just thought, well, shoot, if I can just wait to get paid eventually, but if I could stay busy all month, then at the end of the month when I do get paid, I get paid twice what I would have gotten paid if I'd have stayed busy with homeowners. And then I can roll that back into more materials. And that's basically what I did, was I just bottlenecked myself for like 3 months straight. every penny that came in went into materials. I was late on my mortgage, late on my electric. I knew when everything was going to get turned off or repoed
Yeah,
so that I could put every penny possible. Like I was paying bills at the last possible minute
yeah.
just to keep rolling that money back into materials until I had that war chest finally built up so that I could just comfortably spend what I needed on materials and pay myself and pay the bills.
Well, I did stuff similar though. I did similar things in order to get. I didn't start getting paid decent money until I had it. It was almost like a mindset shift. I'm where I basically had to just declare that I was an expert at something.
Mm.
So one day I remember telling my wife, you know what? I'm signing up. I'm just gonna. I'm advertising. I'm a door expert. And she was just like, since when? Like how?
Yeah.
I was like, because I declared it. I mean, because I am. I
Yeah.
am. And I started doing jobs installing doors. Like I'm talking about custom. Like say there's houses where I go to where they do a lot of houses are starting to be built. Not a lot, but there's a good amount that are being built with 2x6 walls.
Yeah.
Well, you
Yeah,
can't.
just for the insulation purposes.
Yeah. Well, you can't if the door frame gets rotted out, which I've had those, or somebody kicks a door in. It's you can go get a door jamb for a 2x4 wall, of course, right at the
Yeah.
store,
Mhm.
what 4 9/16 or whatever. But you can't just go get one for a 2x6 yet. You can order one, but they're like
Yeah.
quadruple the
But
price.
they're not just in stock at Home Depot down the road though.
No, they're not in stock. And even if you go online, they used to be. You go to Home Depot to get one, it could be 30, $40. You would go
Mhm.
to online to look for one for a 2x6, it'd be $200, 180, $200.
Yeah.
So I would just make them. So I got a planer. I got
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I would just start. That's where I got my start. Would just be where I got my start making decent money. It's like the first time somebody called me with a door issue, and I was like, okay, it's going to be $600, and
Mhm.
I'm just
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And when
yeah.
okay, yeah, no problem. It's like, oh,
Yep.
really? And I'm showing up. I didn't have a trailer, nothing, man. I'm showing up with a truck bed full of tools, man, just
Mhm.
doing what
Yep.
I got to do, and everything started turning out. So that was what kind of boosted me up. But like I said, it was the willingness to. It was just to take on stuff, make my own custom things, and just do whatever it took. So,
Yeah, man. That's
but
awesome.
yeah, but as far as working how I operated, for me working with customers, it came from all those different things. What I ended up finding is that, 'cause I subcontracted from some people for a little while, and the problem was when, like, say they didn't have any work, then I'm like, "Man, well, now I don't have any work, and I don't have a customer base built up."
Yeah.
I spent that time working on his business, and, so eventually I was just like, "Let me just get my customer base up," and it just kinda ended up flowing because what it turned into was, I ended up getting a lot of referrals. So a
Mhm.
lot of people would start referring me, and I'd bring in new people. Between new people referrals, Home Depot really helped because I was doing a lot of like appliance installs, and
Mhm.
they turned into I just talk to people, man. I go in the house, start talking, and next thing I know, it was appliance install, and then we're doing another project over here, and then that I've had people in mid job call their friend like while I was at the house, and the person come over, and then I got another
Yeah.
customer.
Yeah, and
So
you're already, like, making the deal for the next job while you're at theirs. So are you in a position right now where you don't need to do any marketing? Are you all word of mouth and referral, or do you still do some marketing?
I haven't marketed now in it's been a couple years.
I love hearing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then
And you
even
you
when the
have to
time
be a good handyman then, because if you weren't, you couldn't be in the position, it's when people tell me that they've been spending $300 a month on Google Ads for like the last 6 years straight. I just know right away not that they suck. I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not doing something right if it's been 6 years and you're still having to dump lots of money into marketing, because that's enough time to definitely have built up enough of a client base that if you were impressing everybody and your pricing was fair and everything, if everything's on point after 6 years, you don't need to pay for marketing anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm at the point, and I had to really go on faith because it was just like, okay, the way I'm doing it, I don't schedule far out. So I don't schedule like 6 months out. What I do is
Yeah.
I tell everybody, hey, when you got something you really need done, even if it's not an emergency, if you're ready to go, just call me when you're ready. So
Mhm.
that way I don't have a crazy schedule.
Yeah.
Somebody will call. I just had somebody, I'm starting a job Monday for somebody who I've done half their house, full of work. And they get ready. All right, they're ready for the next part. We've already discussed it. They call me. I can usually get them in within 2 weeks because I just don't have a schedule. But it takes a lot of trust to run it like that because I have to be able to trust
Yeah.
that I'm gonna get a call next week. Somebody's gonna call me this week, and it never fails. Never fails.
Yeah.
I have jobs in the works. I have certain jobs where they're ready for me whenever I'm ready.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's just
Yeah. Just kind of like a standby list.
yeah, yeah. Where there's projects that they're ready for. Right now, I have projects down the road that are already in the works. It's just I try to schedule to keep it flowing.
Yeah.
My I had my wife tell me a while ago that the people when they call you they're ready to get stuff done. So when I started to talk to people that way, they actually don't have a problem with it. They're
Mhm.
actually, you know, if they don't have to wait 6 months and get on the schedule, then I don't have to try to schedule out 6 months and have this, and try to keep these deadlines and these dates, and I don't have to do all that. I just you call me when
Yeah.
you're ready, and I'm good for you know a good amount of calls every week. I don't need many, and I tell people I don't need to be getting 10 calls a day, or I don't need
Mhm.
nothing crazy. I need
Yeah.
you to call me. You got your project ready. We can go with it. I'm gonna start a project next week. It's about a 4-day project, and then I got somebody else that called me for something. I have to go to a lady's house. I did work for for a long time, and then her brother's house where I started doing work for them earlier this year. Well, when he bought the house, and then that's going to go into the next week.
Yeah.
So then and it just tumbles like that. So I don't have. I just ordered a new sticker for the side of my truck.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like a vinyl or a magnet.
magnet. Yeah,
Okay.
one of them cheap.
Cool.
Yeah, some people call them
Yeah.
refrigerator magnets, but I
You
like
know
our.
what? People use those. I started out with one of those magnets on my truck. I had to take it off when I got into property management.
Yeah, that
Oddly
makes sense.
enough, because it was getting me so many phone calls.
Mhm.
Everybody, I don't know what your experience was. All the people who called me and said, "I saw your magnet on your truck." They were at Home Depot when they saw the magnet on my truck. They were seeing my truck with the magnet at Home Depot cuz they're at Home Depot like looking at water heaters, trying to figure out if they can even figure out how to install a water heater.
Yeah.
Then they figure out that they probably can't and they probably shouldn't, and then they see my truck in the parking lot with a magnet. So those magnets, they work. I took
They
mine
do?
off, like I said, because I don't want homeowners anymore because I can't serve property managers well while being distracted by homeowners. But they definitely work.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It doesn't seem like here lately. I noticed something. I don't know, and I don't know if it's just for people who do deal with homeowners, but I did notice starting last fall, there was a slowdown in the amount of calls I was receiving from new incoming people.
Mm,
Now I'm not doing any advertising. I don't boost posts on
yeah.
Facebook anymore. I used to do all that though. I don't do any of it. So
But the organic business slowed down slightly for you about a year ago.
yeah, yeah. Now, luckily, I don't rely on that,
Yeah.
but it did. It did have a slowdown as far as the phone ringing. Um, like I said, I'm not a good gauge of that, but then it's almost the same this year
Yeah.
where new people coming in. I don't know if Google's suppressing the websites or something, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's not as bountiful as it was at one point. At one point, I
Hey.
couldn't. The phone was
Oh, go
ringing
ahead.
so much. Well, I just say
Yeah.
at one point the phone was ringing so much. I had to pay my sister-in-law to answer the phone. One of my daughters was answering the phone at one time, and then my
Yeah.
sister-in-law was answering the phone for me because it was too much. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, it's not like that right now. So luckily,
Okay.
like I said, I've just amassed a big group of customers that if they don't need something, their friend needs something, or their friend's friend needs something, or so it's always somebody
Yeah.
calling. So
Yeah. I was talking to my mechanic the other day, which he's actually family, but he's also he owns a mechanic shop, so of course I take all my stuff to him. And I was asking him how business was, and he said it was slow, but he said something interesting because I've only been in this business 4 years. So when I started this business, like right when I started it, there was an election just a couple months away. So I don't know what it was like 4 years prior to that election, but what I did find out from him, at least, and I'm curious if you've seen this, he said it's slow right now, but he said that's normal right before an election. He said every 4 years, right before a presidential election, in the months leading up to the election, everything just kind of falls off. So much so that he pre planned taking time off this year, right before the election, just because he knows he's not going to have any business. Did you see anything like that 4 years ago?
hmm. Uh let me see. I don't know. 2020 was different.
I mean, we had COVID and everything going on too, so it probably would be hard to tell with that.
Yeah, because I mean, I'll be honest with you. 2020, I be COVID thing happened, and man, that was one of my best years.
Oh
So
yeah, it's what everybody says. It blew up.
yeah, yeah, that was the year I bought my trailer. Like it just because we were essential contractors or whatever. So if you had the business going and you already had some momentum, I mean, I couldn't even get to the amount of work. And at that time, I started up doing the appliance repair too. So I
Mm.
was just I was just all over the place. So it was yeah, that was I didn't slow down. I didn't start having now the first year I was in this time of the year it always slows down, but
Yeah,
usually I would have where it slowed down right before school started, and then it would slow down around Thanksgiving. I learned that that first year, that was probably the worst month ever. Whereas like I was
yeah,
regretting, like, man, should I have even started this? Because I had a customer that wanted a refund, and that was a deposit that was like $1,500.
hmm
And I didn't have much anything. Like there was no calls coming in, even on the websites. I told you I was on Home Advisor at the time, all that. It just went dead. Everything went
yeah,
dead like the week before Thanksgiving. And I didn't have and the lady just wanted her money back because what? Because it was something about some windows and I don't know. She changed her mind about ordering the windows.
yeah,
But anyway, but yeah, so that was a rough that was a rough month.
yeah.
But once I got back on my feet and just it stayed pretty steady, like year round. Yeah, it pretty much stayed year round. I've been all right till last year. Then it
That's cool.
got a little dicey.
But you're
Well,
still okay right now, though, right? You still have
yeah,
plenty of work, as
yeah, yeah,
much as you want.
yeah, I'm fine. But I
Yeah,
always think about if I was starting out now.
yeah,
Now the crazy thing is I still have some of the apps on my phone like Thumbtack. So I'm not on
mm,
there as far as getting work. I just
mm,
I got an email that's basically just a Thumbtack email, and but you can go on there and it just show you all the job. There's people getting work done.
yeah,
Now, I've also learned how to kind of weed out certain people. So I don't know. Maybe Thumbtack sometimes I didn't
yeah,
have a good time on Thumbtack. I was finding a lot of people that didn't want to pay. They were looking for the old school version of a handyman. What they thought was
yeah. They were looking for the guy down the road that can cheaply come over in his spare time and just
yeah,
like knock something out. Yeah,
uh-huh, uh-huh. They wanted, a lady she just wanted somebody to schedule for 3 hours to just do random stuff in her house, and she didn't even really know what she wanted done. Some pictures hung, some knickknacks up here, some was like,
yeah.
"Nah, I don't really wanna do that."
I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I like to agree to a scope of work,
Yeah,
know in advance exactly what I'm gonna be doing, how I'm gonna be doing it, when I'm gonna be doing it, show up, do the thing that I do,
that's right.
get paid, and then go. And
Uh-huh.
if you want some other stuff done, that's perfectly fine, but you got to request that, and then I get to say yes or no to it, and then schedule you at a future date when I have an opening to come do that, as opposed to just being somebody's employee.
Yeah. Yeah. What and that's why I like I like direct marketing or having people contact me directly. And the only app I actually still use is Home Depot. And I don't use them often because they just like they send me a lot of installs and I don't do there was a time I was doing all the installs, the microwave ovens and dishwashers and double wall
Mhm,
ovens. I'll still do they send me a shower door. I'll still do that because
mhm.
they're a nice little penny. But it got so competitive. It was getting crazy. There was a time I just got all of them. People were calling me.
Yeah.
And then the first time I knew that I didn't have a setup to compete with some of these guys because I'd call like literally. I'd hear my phone. I'd be working, hear my phone go off. A couple minutes later, I'd look at it. I said, "Okay, this looks like something I do. Let me go ahead and give him a call." And the customer would be like, "Yeah, I already scheduled." I'm like, "It was just
Oh,
three
yeah.
minutes ago."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So now people are calling. They're getting people calling them before they leave the store.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't have a person that's just sitting by the phone waiting to get the alert and then
Yeah. And to
so
me, that's not like, I mean, I haven't even been in that situation, but just anything similar that doesn't just it doesn't sound nice. It doesn't sound pleasant or fun. Like to suddenly be in this scenario where you're trying to like pitch yourself and sell yourself and compete for work when you know that there's not enough of us out there to begin with. There's all the work in the world that anybody wants if they can go find it. So, yeah, to be in this position where you need to have anxiety because you heard your phone go off 3 minutes ago and you don't know if you should be getting out from under the sink and run into the other side of the kitchen and get your phone real quick, call somebody back in front of a client, just begging for a job.
yeah.
It's not necessary.
It's not. And then I'm all about that if you line things up properly and you do things over the years, especially if you want to get on the side of just dealing directly with customers. I didn't some people are like tell your family and friends and this and that. I didn't have a lot of people that, you know, could maybe afford the kind of work that what I'm charging for a lot of the work. And it's just I'm not charging anything astronomical. It's just, you
Yeah.
charge what you need
Just charging
to
what
be
you need to
paid.
charge to run a good business and take
Yeah,
care of your family well.
absolutely. And so and even my old job, most of the people there did. They didn't. It's not like they had. You tell your people at work, well, they didn't have any money either. So I didn't have any kind of network to get my name out. So it was kind of like just I don't know. You just got to figure it out, put it out there. I used to, like I said, boost posts on Facebook and Instagram.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of the online. I didn't do the Google because I did Yelp,
Yeah.
and I did Yelp for like 3 days. And my issue was I did Yelp and I looked at my account and they were like, okay, it's like right it was like $85 that I owed them. And I was like, I didn't got a phone call or nothing. Like what are
Mhm.
they basing it on? They said somebody clicked on something. I'm like, well, I can't pay for nobody clicking on that. I need a
Yeah.
actual lead, a phone call, a person.
Yeah.
Somebody clicks on something. That's the issue with Google. It's like I get the concept of it, but man, it's when you don't
Oh,
know
is
exactly
Google doing a thing now where you pay for leads?
well, yeah,
Or you
Google
pay for people clicking and stuff?
yeah, Google
Oh, I didn't
ads
even
or
know.
yeah, Google has
Oh, the
Google ads.
Google Ads. Okay, yeah, like if you run a Google ad, then you're paying sort of per view and per click, okay.
Yeah,
But they're
or they
not,
have
like, selling you leads, you're just paying for the ads in general.
well, yes, but like say Google LSA is Google Local Service Ads. Now with
Okay, I don't
those
know about that.
yeah, now with those, it's where, if you ever did a search and somebody has like a Google guaranteed by their name,
Mm,
well, they're paying for not only to have that ad up there and have their name up at the top with sponsored ads or whatever, and have that Google guaranteed where Google does a background check and then they uh they basically guarantee the customer if something happens and the customer's not satisfied or whatever, Google will actually pay the customer for the work. Like they guarantee your services.
okay,
So,
interesting.
but I think they start at like it might be like $150 is the minimum per week, like your budget.
Yeah.
It's kind of that's what everybody's going to that model. Thumbtack did that a while back. That was kind of Angie. That was their model.
Like a subscription service.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
and and then basically they tell you that, well, we won't go over that amount. So whatever you set it to, but if the minimum is 600 a
But then
month,
every time somebody clicks, they're deducting from that, and then
yeah,
I just don't like any of that.
and that's the thing. And
I
then
mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
well,
I
this is
always
what
say that to everybody, like, you
and
gotta do what you
what I'll
gotta
say,
do
like,
at some point in time.
yeah, well, with like Home Advisor, at least when I was using them early on, you would know how much the lead cost most of the time. You know, it'd be okay. I said I was a door specialist. Okay, an exterior door lead was $12 or something like that. And then if it was some kind of direct lead, which I never understood what that meant, but it was $18. But I know what it is. You know, I know a storm door lead was $9 for each lead, and that was it,
Yeah.
whether you got the job or not. Um, but at the time, like I told you, they were giving me that special for the handyman leads. I'd have there was so many coming in that I couldn't call them all back.
Yeah.
So that's like I said, and it just allowed me to boost up, and I was just getting unlimited. So I didn't have to. If I was paying per lead, oh, I still don't know how I you know I would have been able to get something going. But the fact that I wasn't paying per lead when I started was just it was a godsend because the amount of leads they were selling me or sending me, I'd have racked up I don't know how much money. And now they changed it.
Yeah.
They kicked me out
You'd
of
have
the
been spending
program.
thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, they kicked me out of the program a couple years ago because I guess they got rid of that unlimited lead thing, and they were going to start
Yeah.
charging per lead. And y'all can. I
Yeah.
wasn't even using it anymore at the time. I was just like, it's convenient for $50 a month. People still
Yeah.
find me on there and just call me directly or whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, it makes me mad about that stuff. It's not even that they're I do find it to be a negative thing that they're just a middleman. So I'll be honest about that. Like I find something negative about the idea that they're doing nothing more than vacuuming up leads before it can get to you. They're getting it for themselves before it gets to Daryl, and then they're asking Daryl to pay him money for it. But it's not just that. It's how expensive they
mm,
actually are.
it's
Like when you're
yeah,
looking at it from any platform, if you're going to charge somebody, say, $25 for a lead to change a faucet on a
yeah,
kitchen sink, you're going
mhm,
to charge $25 for that lead. And then you're going to sell that lead to six different guys.
yep,
So now you've made $150 off of selling that lead, and the guy who ultimately installs that faucet is probably only charging $150 to install the faucet. So you've made as much by not doing any work, by just
mhm.
having a piece of software that you've created, just directing ones and zeros and bits back and forth through the internet. You've made as much money for that as the guy who's actually doing the work. And I think that's the big problem I have with it. It's not the fact that they're a middleman, it's the fact that their pricing is so high and they're charging everybody for the same lead over and over again. That's the problem I have with it because ultimately, if you paid 25 for that lead and you're charging 150, that means you made 125, which means you're happy doing the job for 125, which means if they didn't vacuum up that lead and they let it just come to you organically, you could have just done it for the 125. So ultimately, it's always the customer that's paying more because of these lead gen services.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a no. The way you described it is that they even got worse than that. By the time I stopped using them, I was literally in my garage. I got a lead for a drywall repair, whatever. I I was holding the phone, came to the phone, I dialed, called the customer. The customer said, "Okay, are you calling the schedule?" And I was like, "No, I don't. This first time I called. I just saw the lead come in my phone."
Yeah.
Well, turns out Home Advisor started to compete with the services. So basically, they were taking on a model where they were doing, they were starting to in house like schedule their own jobs. So I think
Okay.
what happened is they acquired Handy.com. right? They
Yeah.
the
I
parent company.
started out working with Handy, actually. I liked it didn't pay worth a crap, but as a brand new handyman, it was super convenient to open up an app, click on a button, just take a job and go do it.
Well, and see, basically what they started doing was that model to compete against the contractors that are on Home Advisor.
Mhm.
So I call the guy was like basically he's scheduled already through Home Advisor for the job to get done. So he was just waiting on the contractor to call him to find out what time.
Right on.
Well, the problem with that is, well, they still sold me the lead though.
Mhm.
So they scheduled the lead themselves. They
Yeah.
still sent it out to a bunch of contractors. All the
Yeah, and
contractors
still
paid.
sold you the lead.
Yeah, so we all still paid for the lead,
They said,
and they
"Just give me money anyways, Daryl. There's no
yeah, yeah,
job for you here. Just
no
give me
job.
your money."
Yep, no job. And I'm like, okay, this is insane.
Yeah.
There's like you're just stealing people's
Yeah.
money at that point.
Yeah, they just keep pushing and pushing until it gets to the point that, like, everybody just puts up with it, until they finally don't anymore, and I feel like that's what happened.
Well, yeah, and I was still on the unlimited, but at that time, and it's still, but well, no, I was on unlimited for the handyman. That job it could have fell under because of course drywall repair was
Might
its
have
own
fallen
lead.
under the contractor stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so the drywall repair leads were separate. But
Yeah.
I found that the drywall repair leads on there were more legitimate than others. So I could almost guarantee that it was less competition. I didn't have to hurry up and call
Mhm.
people at that, when I first started on them. But once they started like competing against you, like the company that's selling you the lead is competing against you for the lead too,
Yeah.
and then booking the leads and then still sending you the lead to make you think you got a shot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
They're
this is
literally just saying, "Just give me your money, Daryl.
you
Just your
that's
job is just give us your money now. Don't
that's
worry
it.
about the leads, don't worry about the jobs, just give us your money."
Just make the donation. Just go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, the way I have it set up now, it's 90. Well, right now it's 100% referral. I don't have any. Well, no, that's right because I still do Home Depot. Um, and I like Home Depot because they're the only ones. They don't charge anything. Your
Mhm.
leads only you only get charged. You basically when you spend money in the store, you get points.
Yeah, you're using your points
Yeah,
to sort of buy the leads, right?
yeah, and it's
But you're
like
not
double.
using money to buy the leads.
No, so you spend $100, you get $200 in points, and then each lead
Yeah.
might be 30 points or 40 points. So I think right now I looked the other day because I had to renew, send them my new insurance, updated insurance information, and I think I have like 21,000 points or something like that.
Yeah.
So they just send me the leads, and I just I call the ones that I want, I pass on the ones that I don't. So it's not
Yeah.
really a chore
Yeah.
for those leads, but yeah, all the other companies, man, like I don't know what they're charging now.
Yeah.
When I started on Thumbtack, the leads were $7, $6. Then they started the home advisor model where now you have to upfront tell
Yeah.
us how much you're going to charge, and then you got to have a weekly budget, and they're going to charge you automatically for the leads. And I don't,
Yeah.
no, thank you, no, thank you. Because then what
I
happens
got a
is,
question.
yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done.
No,
Go ahead.
I'm done.
Okay. So I had another question I had a little bit off topic.
Yep.
But you mentioned, you've mentioned Home Depot a few times and Lowe's
Mhm.
once. Which one do you prefer?
It
As a
the
handyman, not as a homeowner, but as a
Yeah, yeah, no,
handyman,
no, no.
which
It
one do you
depends on what
prefer?
I'm going for. Um, as 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 small as it seems, if I have to get screws, I prefer Lowe's. They
Really?
have they just have way more of a selection for whatever reason.
Okay.
I just the other day I had to get um lattice screws, like black lattice screws.
Mm.
They just don't carry them at Home Depot. It's just but
Yeah.
Lowe's has different colors. They have
Okay.
a their
I'm gonna
screws they have
keep that in mind.
yeah. So their screw selection is better. Of course, the tool selection, power tools and all that is Home Depot's hands down. Um,
Mhm.
I do Sherwin-Williams for paint, so I don't really use neither one of them for paint. Uh, but I do like Home Depot because I like Wooster paint products. I like Wooster
Okay.
paintbrushes and
Yeah.
um. So most of
What
the
about
time,
for just general, like, plumbing and electrical parts and pieces? All the
Yeah,
hardware, all the little things that's in boxes, with the front torn off and 1,000 little baggies inside when you just got that wall of options.
yeah.
Which
Well,
one has better walls of options?
man, I I find
Because
myself
for
at
me,
home.
that's Home Depot.
Yeah, I find myself at Home Depot more. I have a Lowe's literally like 3 minutes down the street. So, but that's why I'm there because it's 3 minutes down the street. I'm more likely though, if I can, I'll be at the Home Depot, but that's like 15 minutes from me. So it's just a convenience thing. But
Yeah.
for the most part, I do most of the shopping at Home Depot for whatever it is. This whole deck thing. I had them. They went through Home Depot for everything. To
Yeah.
for everything delivery and the whole nine. So yeah, most of the things I do is at Home Depot.
Oh yeah, you know what? And we restarted this interview earlier for some audio stuff. I don't think we got back into your deck project. Do you want to tell us what happened with this big deck project that you've been
Oh,
making all
well,
these
yeah,
episodes about?
yeah, yeah. What that basically started out is it's a customer that I've been doing work for a long time, and they had an issue with the deck, and they knew they had an issue with it because they had spots on the deck that were real spongy, but the stairs were a disaster. They thought, you walk down them stairs, you just didn't know at any time it was going.
Mhm.
And so I was just supposed to be replacing the stairs. Well, they did warn me that we're not sure what you're gonna find once you start taking the stairs off. So that was good. They had an idea that it was gonna be a disaster, and they were right. So I ended up taking the stairs off, going underneath. The boards were rotted out. It still wasn't as bad as I thought. But then once I started taking stuff apart and I got to that ledger, the rim joist of the house, then it was a total mess, man. So it was a total tear down. All the posts were rotted out and cracked in some of them. So end up being a total tear down and rebuild. But the crazy part is that's not my normal. That's not the normal job that I do. I've done decks. I built
Mhm.
decks. I've repaired decks before. I had a customer. The first deck I ever did was a customer. She got her deck done from it's a company called Decks in a Day,
Mhm.
and she got her whole deck built in a day. And
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
nah, nah, nah. They eventually it was rotted out underneath. Man, it was terrible. So that was the first one I ever did. Uh, so I've done a lot of decks or just replacing the top, taking the old wood off and putting composite on and
Mhm.
whatever. So, but yeah, so this one turned out, but it's probably by far the largest one I've done by myself.
Yeah. Oh, I
'Cause,
want to give you some credit for that because I feel like you made handymen like you did the industry a favor with that deck. You did a really good job on it. You didn't go in and do what a lot of people would think a handyman would do and just try to sort of like splice and rig and duct tape and bale and wire some stuff together. As you found stuff that was wrong and realized what needed to be done, it looked to me, and I'm not a deck expert, I'm not saying I know you did everything right, but it appears to me that you went out of your way to make sure that the product you gave them was a professional product. That if a home inspector was coming out to inspect, I would guess they would pass that inspection.
oh yeah, no, it definitely passed inspection. The the thing the thing where the way I always operate, and it doesn't matter what I'm doing, and I'd suggest that anybody who wants to get into this business do is the reason why I'm 95% referral is I put that effort. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. So if somebody is to watch any of the videos, even like older videos, it doesn't matter if I'm painting. It doesn't matter if I'm, let's say, installing cabinets, doing crown, whatever it is. I'm putting that kind of effort into it. So I want if I'm gonna do it, I want somebody to walk in and think that it was a trim carpenter did all this crown work in here, or they hired a painter to come in here and flooring. It's just I want to look and I want it to look like that because one of the reasons why I started this business was because I had so many issues with other contractors. Like the bar was so low that time and time again, I had guys that would come over. I had at my old house, I didn't know how to do drywall repair. We had a leak. One of the kids overfilled the tub and leaked down in the kitchen, and we had to fix the ceiling. Guy came over. He just put a new piece of drywall up. He didn't mud it or do anything. He just put this piece of drywall up. So I was like, okay, well, I guess we got to figure it out somehow. I don't know. I was taking too long, so my wife ended up. She let her little brother and cousin do the mud, which was a disaster. But they didn't know what they were doing. They were like teenagers. So I had the bright idea. Okay, maybe I just grind it down to sanding, as I literally had no idea. I started with a with some kind of, it was a sander on a drill and one of those like real rough like circular pads, and I started sanding that thing. Man, there was dust
Oh, yep.
everywhere, like for like weeks. Upstairs, we were downstairs in the house,
It gets
so it
sucked
went through
into
the
the
ventilation.
HVAC system, and then it gets uniformly distributed over
I
every
mean,
square inch.
yeah, it was like for 2 weeks, it was
Sound
just
like we
dust.
both learned that the hard way.
Yeah, but I was like, part of me was like, well, man, why didn't the guy just do the job? Like, why didn't he just do it? You know, I've had jobs I talked about before with a HVAC contractor who had a mini split system that had issues. So I went and I called a guy. We had a warranty through one of those home warranty companies. He came out. I just don't think he knew what he was doing. He said, "Okay, well, whole thing needs to be replaced." All right, it's not that old, but whatever. You the guy. Took him forever to come back. Finally came back. New system installed. Went outside, did something. Then he came in and said, "Oh man, I wired it backwards and it fried the board." I'm like, on a new system, like it's brand new. Like it could have only been two spots to put the wire
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
How do you do it backwards? And this is all you do. Like this is so I got a brand new system. He got to get a board, and then it was just like it was always a disaster.
Mhm.
So it taught me, it was like, who decides who's professional? That was always my question. So
Yep,
you get a
yep,
lot of guys out here that'll, will consider a handyman's not a real
yeah.
tradesman. You'd have that, they got a chip on their shoulder, which is also a little strange to me because you get a lot of guys I'll talk to, like you get a guy who's a not, and I'm not calling out anybody specifically. It'd be a guy, say he's a licensed plumber,
Mhm.
um, and he'll look at things that everything's that's done wrong is a handyman special, right? It's a handyman
Yeah,
special. And I'm like, no, 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 no. I designed my business. Uh, the whole concept of the finisher was I designed my business to that I will do anybody's job. I'll finish it, fix it correctly. I don't care who
yeah.
started it, the homeowner or a contractor or whatever. So I started my business based on the backs of these contractors not doing the
Yep,
jobs right.
yeah,
So no, I'm coming behind. I'm following behind plumbers. I'm
yep,
not following behind a bunch of handymen. I'm following behind contractors.
yep, that's exactly right. And that's
So
not, again, like you said, that's not to say plumbers are bad or
no,
electricians are bad or anything.
no.
But I think the bottom line is the license doesn't make you better or worse at your job. And the
No.
license doesn't make you suddenly take more pride in your job and suddenly choose to do it right. So there are plumbers who have licenses who are doing a horrible job. And there are also plumbers who have licenses who are like you and me and just get obsessed with things and need to learn everything about it, and who probably run their conduit like all at the exact 45-degree angle and
Yeah.
just get off on like really doing a beautiful job. There's both with licenses. And similarly in the handyman world, there's also both. But I know, I'm sure you probably have too. Like I've gone to close up drywall behind a plumber. And well, for me, it's property managers. For you, it's homeowners or whatever. But I've had to call my property managers and just say, hey, man, I don't think you want me to close this up. And I got to send them a picture, and it's like 12, it's like behind a shower. And for whatever reason, they needed like 12 shark bites, just in this little like 16-inch by 16-inch section.
Mm.
There's pipes going everywhere. There's PEX and there's copper and there's 12 different shark bites, and nothing is straight. Everything is tensioned and just sort of like bent all out of shape. And I'm just like, you said that was a plumbing company that you sent? Like a real one? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, you probably want to send them back over here. I don't think you want me. I'll close it up. You tell me to close it up. I'll close it up, but I don't think you want me to do that.
Well, see, that's the thing. I have a lot of customers now that use me as like their general contractor. Their
Yeah.
eyes and ears. So they'll call me, and if I can't do it, If it's something I can't do, then they'll do whatever if I suggest, hey, get a plumber. Now I got a plumber now that I suggest to whoever it is,
Mhm.
because I know the guy. But I'll come behind sometimes, and I hate doing it, but sometimes I've been there when the guy's coming and doing the work, and they hate it. They hate,
Yeah.
just I'm hanging out. I'm not watching over their shoulder or nothing. I'm
Mhm.
just I'm just in the area.
Mhm.
So maybe, I walk by, maybe, just speak to you. You might not like that. You think I'm watching you. I am. I am,
Yeah, because you kinda are.
I kinda am.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's just it is a shame that, we've had a lot of people that had issues, but what I try to represent is that if you get well, it's kinda like a new thing. That's why I'm always promoting like Handyman 2.0. Like this, I feel like it's like we're trying to take this to a level of where people understand that a handyman is not what you thought it was. Maybe that's what it
Yeah,
was in the 80s or the 70s or something like that. Now it's an actual profession. We got a lot of
yeah,
professionals
yeah.
that are taking the job seriously, that want to,
Yeah,
do the best thing they can. And also like to show, if you're gonna do the work, then you gotta do the work right.
mhm.
You just have to. If you don't,
And I
if you
like the 2.0 branding. It's really good branding. I think it gets the idea across that you're trying to put across. Because I feel like it's a similar thing to what I'm trying to tell people is like, "Hey, we kinda, as a community, earned our bad reputation."
yeah.
So, the way out of it is you have to earn a good reputation. You don't get to just declare it. You actually have to go out there and show up day in and day out on time like a professional, doing your job correctly, not gouging because you can gouge. You can absolutely tell people all the time. You could just go gouge today if you want. You can go up to the rich end of town, place your ads, charge literally twice as much as what the industry standard would be, what anybody would consider fair, charge double the price, do half the quality, take their money and leave. Like you can do that
Mhm.
if you want. But if you do that, you're keeping the entire industry down. You're part of the reason why we're at where we're at.
Yeah, and I've gotten plenty of jobs, and that's the thing. I've gotten plenty of jobs where a lot of my best customers, and I hate to say it like this, but it's true that a lot of them have had issues. They've went through the experience of having a bad contractor, or somebody. I had people just walk off of jobs. I had people that a customer I'm doing some flooring for later this month. That the first job I did for him, um I built a what you call it. It's basically a bar and grills area in their backyard, and a fence next to it, like a privacy fence or whatever. And the original contractor just walked off with their money. It's
Yeah,
just that kind of stuff happens, man. So I'm always like, if we can represent what we do and make it that it's taken serious as a profession by everybody, and if we have to be the representations of that, that's totally fine. I'm totally fine with that. Um, where that the idea of a handyman is no longer considered, just some guy that does cheap work or just does stuff good enough. Because I turn those jobs down. If you want me to rig something up, or you want me to, I have, and I'm gonna do it one of these days. Show pictures of some of the jobs that I've had to turn down because it's just like, dude, I don't want no parts of that.
yeah,
I'm going under the sink and I'm seeing a disaster under there, and they're like, yeah, it won't drain. What you want me to do? Like everything's glued in.
yeah,
It's a mess under here, and I'm not. Nah, you know what?
mhm,
Nah, I'm not touching that, man. You're gonna have to get somebody.
yeah,
So yeah, that's what I'm big on, man. I'm big on doing what you say you're gonna do, doing the job to the best of your ability. And if you don't know what you're doing, like if you truly don't know what you're doing, not saying there's a difference to me between you can figure things out. And
mhm,
I have a lot of customers that come to me, and when I say, man, I don't know, man, I think I can figure it out. They don't care. They say, you know what? You always figure it out.
yeah,
So, hey, whatever you can do, I'm sure you'll figure out something. And if I'm confident with it, I go with it. But not a situation where I literally don't know what I'm doing. I'm just gonna wing
Yeah.
it. No, I
Yeah,
don't.
if somebody says like, "Hey, can you swap out my circuit breaker panel?"
Yeah,
You
no.
know, and you don't know how to do that. That's
Yeah,
not one of those go YouTube it type. Go YouTube it is for swapping out the circuit breaker
yeah,
on the circuit breaker panel. And then after you've done a few of those and some other electrical work, then maybe the next step for you is going to be, depending on what state you live in, if it's legal, maybe
yeah,
running a new leg. Like maybe somebody wants a new outlet on the side of the garage 30 feet from that panel, and maybe you can figure out how to do that as a handyman without a license if it's legal for you in your state. But you don't start out a new handyman knowing nothing about nothing and then suddenly swap out a circuit breaker panel. You got to
no,
stair step. You got to know what you're likely to be able to figure out correctly. How much research can you do and how much can you soak up without actually going and having that job as a professional for each sort of step along the way.
yeah, yeah. And I once you do that, and then you show people, I'll even walk people through. I know they don't care. I know some customers don't. I have customers that I see their eyes kind of glazing over when I'm giving them certain details. But somewhere in there, they're gonna catch upgraded outlet, or they're something in there will maybe trigger. So just that they understand that this is what you're getting, and
Mhm.
that's all. So I always make sure that they know whatever I'm doing at their house, I'm trying to do it at a level that is gonna, they're gonna be able to work with it for years. If they ever have an issue, they're gonna be able to reach out to me. No problem. I'm easy to get in contact with. I just think that we got to just do more of that. You
Yeah,
know, get the
yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah. If we can, because also that's the way you'll get the money. You were talking about price gouging. I had a friend of mine that now he has a pretty big house. I was over there installing a door for him. He was telling me about, man, he had a company come by and look at the basement. He wanted to get the basement finished, and he was like, man, they quoted me like $130,000
Yeah.
for a finished basement, and I was like, I guess the game has changed. Some of the prices that people are coming up with, I don't even know how you come up with the prices. I'll sit down and do my estimate, and I'm adding for this and for that, and
And
I'm
you
not.
just can't find it, right?
I'm like, how did they come up with that? Well,
Yeah.
they're just, hey, you find the price and then triple it. It's just
Yep.
no.
Yeah. That's what a lot of people say and do too. Or a
Mhm,
lot of people say, how much does this cost? Well, it depends on what kind of car is in the driveway. And it's like, well, no, it shouldn't. I mean, to maybe some extent, it should. If I'm going to do drywall work in the foothills, like on a $5 million house,
mhm.
I'm gonna do a better job. And I'll admit that a lot of people don't like to say this. I'm gonna do a better job on your $5 million house in the foothills than I'm gonna do on your $50,000 slum on the south side of town. I'm not gonna do the same quality on each one. The guy in the foothills wants more and he's willing to pay more, and I'm gonna give him more in exchange for more pay. But I'm not gonna just charge him more and do the exact same work. Like if I'm installing a faucet and it's the same faucet on any old sink, I'm not going to charge the rich guy in the foothills more money than I'm going to charge the guy in the regular house down in the suburbs.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a lot of people. I mean, I guess they do run into that issue. I do have some developments that I work in that are pretty high dollar. That one day I guess I was gonna do like a little kind of like a ride along, so people could just kind of see that just different areas that you have. Now, I'm not one of the people that says, hey, you got to get all your clients to be just rich people. Part of it is I guess I have some sort of issue with, the people that have all the money get everything. They get all the
Mhm,
services. They like the people don't have less. I work with a lot of customers. They got the money to that that I'm a charge. They have the money.
mhm,
But it's just worth more to them because they've been saving up for a long time, and but they have the money.
mhm. Yeah,
I just have an issue with almost catering to the rich people. Like I don't know.
yeah.
I just
I smell what you're stepping in.
yeah, yeah. I'll do work over there.
Yeah.
But just to say that I'm only gonna go over there and that's where I'm gonna focus and I'm just gonna I don't know.
Yeah.
exclusively work for this group that once I leave, man, they really couldn't care less about what goes on
Yeah, they
in
don't
their
care
company.
about you at all. Yeah,
Nah,
that's
nah,
true. I mean, 1 out of 10 do. Like, some of those people started out as you and me and
true.
worked their way to where they got. Some of those people, I have to say, are some of the coolest people
Mhm.
I've ever met in my entire life, and I could
True.
be one of them someday, or you could be one of them someday. But,
Uh-huh.
yeah, most of them didn't really earn where they're at. They don't appreciate what they have, and they think very little of guys like you and me.
And and I've ran into both ends where I have, people that are, man, they treat you like you're just home and they, oh man, we're buying lunch. Hey, what's your order? Put your order in. And you try
Yeah,
to say,
yeah.
nah, I'm all right. I have something else. No, man, we're getting, you know, they want you to eat what they're eating. They want you to just
Mhm.
feel at home, feel welcome. And there's some that I got to the point where they would just literally wait until they went on vacation and just say, hey, here's the number to the house, X, Y, and Z. We got this estimate.
Yeah.
We want you to go ahead and
Isn't that
start.
great when you get there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. I had a lot of
It
that.
feels good.
But then I've had the other end of the spectrum where people I'm doing houses, like you said, $4 or $5 million houses, and they don't even wanna move a car out of the driveway so I can back the
Mhm.
trailer in.
Yeah,
They
you can
want me
just
to,
walk.
yeah, 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 just park on the street and
Yeah.
walk over here and don't use the elevator. We don't want you to use the elevator to go to the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
So, it's like, okay, so
Mhm.
I ended up there's even a whole area down I live, there's a beach area where I live where it's
Mm.
just a lot of money all the way down.
Yeah.
And I had to just cut out one whole section because it's just maybe it's just that area. I
It's
was
just
like, "This
every
is too
time
much."
you went there, it just sucked.
Oh, oh, man. Some of the people were nice, but it just they show their true color sometimes,
Mhm.
maybe at certain points. I had one guy that I did this trash can enclosure, man. It great, looked great when I was finished. He loved it, whatever. There was, one is his wife, never looked at it the whole time, and she came out, she sent me a message after I finished, and they paid me for it already. Sent me a message like, "This thing looks terrible. Like, what is you need to come back and do something or give it the money back or whatever." And then the guy had to call me and was like, "Nah, she was looking at something that she didn't know she was looking at." And then
Yeah.
she sent me a message and apologized or whatever. But it was like just that whole. It was just this
Yeah.
this
You're
this
like, "But I
attitude.
already saw how you're gonna talk to me, if you feel that you want to."
Yeah, it's just like I'm good on that. So yeah, yeah. I'm all about doing those houses. Matter of fact, that's why I said I'll be down Friday. Um, next Friday. I think maybe even this Friday. Be down at one of those houses. A surprising thing though is that those houses aren't what they used to be. So, somebody a $2 million house, I guess depending on where you get it. I walk in, it's like, not they're not even
Just a
putting
house.
hardwoods in no more. Yeah, they're putting vinyl floors
Yeah.
in now, like the vinyl plank. I'm like
Yeah.
for 2 million, there better be
Mhm.
some hardwood somewhere. Nah, man,
Yeah, I
vinyl
go
plank.
into some of the really nice places here. I mean, like, like 8 bedroom,
Yeah,
4,500 square feet up in the foothills, because those are rentals too, you know? And they'll be freshly remodeled, multi-million dollar houses all up in the foothills near all the rich people. And you go in and there's like a Glacier Bay faucet,
yeah.
in the bathroom. There's nothing wrong with a Glacier Bay faucet. They're good
No,
faucets. I actually
no, yeah,
think Glacier Bay makes really great faucets, but
yeah.
it's in a $5 million freshly remodeled house that somebody's
Mhm.
paying like $4,500 a month to rent. And
Yep.
you got a little like chrome Glacier Bay faucet, with just two little knobs on it to turn it on and off. And I'm like, what's
Yeah.
going on these days?
I don't I don't know. I don't like I said, that money is not going where it used to go.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
around my
Yeah.
area.
Because the guy who did the work charged for way more than that. He didn't charge Glacier Bay prices.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 I'm like, ah, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. I don't know where it's ending up because where I live, there's a resort area that just it's just people flooding in. People from Jersey and DC and New York and all the people with money. They got that money that are selling their places, in DC, like around the people with money around DC, Bethesda and places like that. They're coming here and is just filling up with people that got a lot of money. Where you pass by a sign for new development and it's just the regular houses and it says, starting uh starting in the low 800s. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, okay. So there's a lot of people out here that have it. That's one thing I also tell people because I hear a lot of people have issues finding customers. Like there's a lot of people who have the money.
Mhm.
You just got to find them. It's not always those developments. I work for a lot of people who are just older. Their house paid off. They're just finally at the point in life where they've never had their house professionally painted or never had,
Yeah.
and that's their thing. They just want to fix their house up. They're finally at a point in life they can actually afford to fix their
Mhm.
house up. And they're 65, 70 years old.
Yeah.
They can afford it. They're not, but I wouldn't go there and hit them over the head like for what?
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that, man, I just spent $700 on paint for my house, and it's not it's gonna cover half the house. It's easily
Really?
it's only gonna reach I just put an entire well, my son put it on, I didn't put it on. I'm having my son do a lot of work on my house as well, because it's the slower season,
Yeah.
but $700 worth of paint. It's a 1 5-gallon bucket that was like $200.
Oh yeah.
Just did the front of my house. Just the
Really?
1 5-gallon because I got stucco too, so it's
Oh
gonna just suck all that paint up. But
yeah.
1 5-gallon bucket just did the front, and I still got 2 sides and a back to do. But it feels good though to just go ahead and do something quality, like to buy that nice exterior satin, enamel, etc., with all the bells and whistles, and just know, and to say, hey, put it on thick, put it on thick and put two of those coats on because I
Yeah.
want to protect my house. And they're, middle income people, which would be me, maybe I'm slightly above middle, but just barely, if at all.
Mhm.
We also like to put money into our houses, and we also like to pay for quality and know that we're keeping it protected
It's
from now on.
it's the truth. It's the truth. And that's what I say. There's a lot of people out here that are willing to pay, especially if you give them that experience. Maybe they're skeptical the first time. They see the price, they're gonna go with it because they want it done. And they like, it's a little bit of a stretch. But once you give them that experience, then I tell people, man, I have people, maybe it's just part of my nature though, because I am the type of person where at the customer, you can pull up a chair, man. Like you can don't feel awkward, don't feel nothing. Like go ahead. If
Yeah,
you want to pull up a chair, hang out with me, man. Go ahead and do that, man. While I'm working, we can talk. And I've had customers that, we kind of just hanging out while
yeah,
I'm working. Like I don't, it's just whatever the experience that I kind of feel them out. If they just want the work done and want you to kind of like do your thing, no problem. I'll stay over here, make sure you don't have nothing in no dust or nothing coming into your space.
yeah,
And that'll be that. So that's kind of what I go for, man. I kind of feel out the customer to give them the best experience possible.
yeah.
So
Right on.
like I said, man, it just doesn't really matter. Like that's the way to me you can find people who, like I said, now I'm only doing jobs where I'm 5 miles out and they're mostly like right, like really close to my house. And that's fine. I don't care. I don't, it's great thing for me because of course I don't have to drive, but that's even more to it. The customers, I'm like, hey, look, you know where I live. My wife is an administrator at a school right down the street. She's the principal over there. So I'm here. I'm in the community.
Yeah.
I'm part of my community. And I like the idea of fixing up my community, um, and being an asset to it.
All right, guys. So this has been great. We got 3 hours total of interview to do here, and you've just seen the first hour and a half. And I just want to let you know I will be dropping the other hour and a half tomorrow so that we can just kind of condense this into small sections that we can actually take in. But I want to thank Daryl for coming on today. And in the meantime, I do want to make sure you guys go to his channel, Daryl the Finisher. Go look him up on YouTube. I will have a link here with this video for a while, but I redo my descriptions frequently, so that link is going to disappear. If you're watching this and you like what Daryl has to say, please go find him on YouTube and go ahead and subscribe to him. And then also, I want to give you all a little reminder, Election Day is coming. If you're registered to vote, first of all, if you're not and you're able to, go get registered. Second of all, if you are registered and you haven't voted yet, If you can vote early, please do go vote early. And third, if all else fails, please do go vote on election day. This is our privilege as United States citizens. We have the immense privilege of getting to decide who our leadership is and what direction our country is going to take. So do me a favor, do yourself a favor, do your kids a favor, do your country a favor, and get out there and vote. Otherwise, we'll have the last half of this interview out tomorrow. I love you guys. I hope you're out there killing it, and I'll see you on the next one.